comes from Oklahoma. And out there they call this the Women's Fancy Shawl Dance. Now they say the origin of the dance goes back to around 1945, right after the Second World War. Now during the war years, not only did the men volunteer for the armed services, but so did the women. And just like the men, they traveled all over the world. And they saw how the women danced in all of these different countries. Now back here, it was traditional for the women to do a very slow kind of dance around the outside of the circle. And on the inside of the circle, of course, the men would be doing a much more vigorous kind of dancing. But when the women came home, they said, we don't want to dance just around the outside of the circle. We want to dance on the inside of the circle just like the men do. And we don't want a really slow rhythm to our music. We want a faster rhythm, and we want to move a little faster. And so they created this dance that they call the Women's Fancy Shawl Dance. And when they do the dance, they wear a shawl over their shoulders and over their elbows, and they spin and they turn and they open and close their arms. And they say the long fringe on the edges of the women's shawls remind you of the feathers that the men wear when they're dancing. Now, the difference between the women's dancing and the men's dancing, of course, is that when the women dance, they do not wear the feathers on like the men do, and they do not wear the bells on their legs. But their footworks and their movement are very, very similar to the movements of the men. So this is a fancy women's shawl dance now from Oklahoma. Ow. Way, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, hey, yeah, hey, yeah, way, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, hey, yeah, way, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, oh, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, way, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, oh, hey, yeah, yeah, oh, hey, yeah, yeah, oh, way, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, oh, hey, yeah, hey, yeah, way, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, oh, hey, yeah, yeah, oh, hey, yeah, yeah, way, yeah, yeah, hey. Now our next dance, it's a dance again that goes back many, many years ago. And this is a dance that men do. It's called the old style or traditional warriors dance. And they say this is the way the warriors used to dance many, many years ago. When they returned to the village, they'd have all the people gather, very much the same as they gathered here this afternoon. At that time, they would come out and they would dance for the people. And as they were dancing, they say, they were telling you a story with their movements of some of the experiences that they had while they were out on the trail. And we're going to see our dancers come in first, doing what's called a sneak up. And that's just exactly what it is. And this part of the dance is showing you how they would sneak up on their enemy. And then as they start moving around, you will notice that they seem to look and point to the ground. And that's to show you that they're following the footprints of their enemy. You'll also notice that as they are dancing, they get down very close to the ground. And that's to show you that they're trying to hide or conceal themselves behind the bushes and the trees. But the most important thing about the warriors was the fact that they were very, very proud people. The tribe looked up to them. They had great honor and respect for the warriors. So whenever they would dance, they would always show you in the dance how proud they were to be the protectors of the people. Old style or traditional warriors dance now from Oklahoma. All right. Now we have one more dance we're going to be presenting before we finish. And before we do that, though, I'd just like to say that we're really, really so happy to see all of you here this afternoon to come out and to help us celebrate. Now, not only are we celebrating Native American Heritage Month, but this is called the Harvest Festival. And I think that's very, very important to think about, because not only do the Native people have gatherings like this time of the year, but they had gatherings like this throughout the year. And the purpose of all of these dances and songs and music and celebrations is to thank, and that's important, I think, always to think about that, to thank the Creator for giving us this wonderful and beautiful earth. You know, when we think about it, I always tell this to the young boys and girls, when you think about it, everything that you need in your life comes from the earth, no matter what it is. It comes from the earth, and we should never forget that. Among the Native people, we are told that we're caretakers. We're the caretakers of the earth. We're the ones who have to see that the earth is taken care of, because that gives us all that we need. And we have to make sure that the earth is not polluted, that we don't kill all of that. And I think that's always important to remember. I sometimes think it would be a great thing if at the beginning of the school day, when all of the boys and girls stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance, which I think is very important, but also to include at the very end of that, thank you, Earth, just so they understand that we always have to